You are watching Future Drive. Please do good by subscribing to our channel to catch up on our exciting videos. In today's video, we shall discuss the big Ford news and everything you should know, so stay with us. Few Americans enjoyed the car buying process even before the supply chain chaos and the chip shortage led dealerships to mark up inventory by thousands of dollars. But buying a Ford electric vehicle might be a lot less painful in the future if Ford CEO Jim Farley gets his way. On Wednesday, Farley said that he wants the company's EVs to be sold online only, with no dealer markups or other price negotiations. That's according to the Detroit Free Press. While speaking at a conference in New York, Farley said, "We've got to go to a non-negotiated price. We've got to go 100% online. There's no inventory at dealerships. It goes directly to the customer, and 100% remote pickup and delivery." One of Tesla's most popular innovations was to eschew traditional dealerships and sell its products directly to customers. But traditional manufacturers like Ford are usually prohibited from selling their products directly to the customers, a legacy of fears over vertical integration written into state laws during the early 20th century. As such, Ford's franchise dealers will almost certainly still have a role to play. Then we have this opportunity to use our physical presence to outperform competitors. I think our dealers can do it, but the standards are going to be brutal. They're going to be very different than they are today, he said. The move away from dealerships carrying extensive inventories of cars should save Ford money. The company says that its current distribution model adds around $2,000 in extra costs per car compared to Tesla. A third of that cost is tied up in inventory and another third is spent on advertising. Our model is messed up. We spend $600 or $700 on the vehicle to promote it, and we spend nothing post-warranty on the customer experience. The problem is, on a parts business, which historically has been very profitable, we only get maybe only 10 or 20% of the customers come back to us, he said. He also doesn't see the point in advertising a car that's already sold out. If you ever see Ford Motor Company doing a Super Bowl ad on our electric vehicles, sell the stock, he said. Ford wants to do things differently as it expands into the EV business. It's spinning electric cars into their own sub-brand, untethered from the time-honored tradition of dealers asking, "What can I do to get you in this car today?" Months after that news first came out, CEO Jim Farley is doubling down. In a speech today, the executive confirmed that under his new plan, dealerships would get rid of inventory entirely and become high-quality service centers for customers who purchase their vehicles online. In a presentation at Bernstein's 38th Annual Strategic Decisions Conference, an event that is apparently real and not an Arrested Development plot point, Farley confirmed that Ford intends to sell EVs entirely online with no haggle pricing. Dealer lots full of pre-ordered inventory would be gone, and today's existing dealers would pivot to providing service for cars purchased online. Buyers looking to get into Lightning may have had to deal with dealers for now, but future transactions may never require a single foot stepped into those hallowed halls. It seems the goal is to have dealers process the transaction initiated by the customer via the online sales portal. No more stepping on the sales floor or entering the dreaded box. Farley further said existing dealerships will play a role in this transition, with the company using its physical presence to outperform startups like Tesla, which have had to build physical showrooms and service locations from zero. In Comments reports, Farley also outlined his plan to eliminate Ford's advertising spending entirely. The automaker is one of the biggest purchasers of advertising on Earth, spending more than $3 billion a year on ads. But Ford didn't buy any ads for its two new electric vehicles, the Mustang Mach-E and the F-150 Lightning, and both of those are sold out. When it comes to EVs, I'm not convinced we need public advertising, Farley said. Therefore, a fully digital purchase experience may prevent buyers from putting eyes on cars and butts in seats before shelling out their hard-earned cash. But that's a problem that people seem to care about less with every passing year. Digital sales make up nearly a third of car transactions in the United States, and that's unlikely to ever return to pre-pandemic levels. Ford also has concerns that price spikes will permanently taint the introduction of electric vehicles. It already wants dealers to include a no-sale provision on the upcoming F-150 Lightning, similar to what happened with the GT supercar. While this has been challenged by consumer advocates and the right-to-repair movement, the fear that the first batch of all electric pickups will be purchased with markups only to be flipped by private sellers asking even more remains very real. Meanwhile, domestic automakers are starting to realize that they can't operate at limited capacity indefinitely and that their current lineups might not be ideal for the times. I've often griped about the inherent dangers of manufacturers becoming fixated in high-margin SUVs and pickups. Once the economy hits a snag or fuel prices start approaching $4 per gallon, some people will start looking down market and embracing smaller vehicles with better fuel economy. We now appear to be approaching that scenario, but the industry is also on the cusp of selling mainstream and commercial EVs with larger price tags. Ford's Lightning is supposed to start at $40,000, while the liquid-fueled F-Series begins at $30,000. Granted, the electric option is supposed to help customers recoup the higher point of entry by having lower operating costs and less maintenance, but it takes years for those savings to add up, leaving customers to way lower monthly payments against not having to pay at the pump. In the spring, we're in the middle of launching F-150 Lightning. Few people ask us anymore about why we phased out sedans, and many more asking when they could take delivery of the new Bronco or Maverick or Lightning. So we're doing everything we can in our powers to increase our production and break constraints. We don't like making our customers wait, and we're taking action to ensure they don't pay unreasonable markups, Ford CEO Jim Farley explained. We have very good knowledge of who they are, and their future allocation of product will be directly impacted because of that policy, and we've seen really quick action by our team. On the BEV side, this is quite an important topic because the margins that we want to build in BEV are going to be heavily dependent on a different go-to market and customer experience. I won't go into any more than that, but this is a quite important lesson for us of the franchise system and the way we will manage going forward. Mr. Farley did not explain what constituted unreasonable markups or exactly how it planned to tailor its management of the franchise system for electric cars, but he did repeat that the automaker believed only around 10% of dealerships were over the line during a recent interview with Fox Business, presumably indicating some willingness for price increases. Farley's warning came shortly after Ford head of sales Andrew Frick sent a letter to dealers stating that they could lose F-150 Lightning allocations if they tried to get reservation holders to pay additional fees for the electric truck. Barclays analyst Brian Johnson has suggested the value of markups being applied by Ford dealers is worth upwards of $3.6 billion. Farley added that it will be particularly important for the company to address pricing concerns about electric vehicles while rivaling the likes of Tesla and Rivian that operate direct-to-consumer sales models. Though it's pretty hard to see the factory as the hero, automakers have also taken advantage of the situation by eliminating incentive spending and rejiggering production schedules to prioritize vehicles with the fattest margins. Component shortages resulted in assembly lines being repeatedly idled, while pandemic protocols sent many workers home, helping to reduce overhead. Manufacturers may also use the dealer pricing to rationalize direct-to-consumer sales. With haggling having been largely abandoned over the last 2 years, the franchise model is making less sense to consumers with lowered expectations, and automakers are becoming aware of this. This has created an opportunity for manufacturers to begin selling the idea of factory direct, negotiation-free sales as an improvement, though that doesn't automatically mean it would be, especially if there's a chance for the market to return to the prior state of normality. What do you think about the big Ford news dealing directly with customers without any dealers? Share your thoughts in the comments section below, and also give us a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.